Oh, so this is Bill Batson recording for Piermont Remembers. I'm here with Charlie Samuels, who has given me permission to record. Is that correct, Charlie?
That is correct.
So it's very good to see you, and I'm glad you're participating. And as I start all of these interviews, I will ask you, what is your earliest Piermont memory?
Probably my earliest Piermont memory is I had a few friends down there when I was young, about probably 8 or 7. I lived in Spark Hill technically, but I went to Piermont schools. And I lived about probably a mile away from the center of Piermont. And my two friends were Carl Smith and Jay and Jody Leotti. And I remember going to Carl Smith's house on my bicycle, my new bicycle.
What
And
year was it?
it's like 1969, maybe, or 70. And I, I had to ride my bike on the double yellow line as fast as I could, so that if kids that wanted to beat me up on the sidewalks saw me, they'd have less chance of catching me. And so I just book down this double yellow lines. That's to tell you how few cars there were, And I must have been about 9. Yeah, about 9. So that would be 70. And that's how I avoided getting beat up by the Bazes and the Lamandries and, the Yanazones. And so I learned at an early age how to protect myself.
Speed.
Yeah, speed. So that's, I'm proud to have that as my earliest memory. And, it was a barbaric school, the Tappan Zee Elementary, and it was no big deal, just being picked on or having to fight. That's just the way we grew up.
So wheels factored into the next phase in your life, right?
Yeah, and I
Always
just like
been
to tell
wheels.
people that, that's why my nose is crooked, because I had my nose, broken twice, I guess. So I'm proud of that.
By fighting or by falling off of a
Oh, fists. Definitely fists. Yep. Yep.
So tell us a little bit about the Skateboard Wizards. Was that around this? Was that soon after this time?
Not really. It was about 5 or 6 years later. I lived across from the Rockland Cemetery, and I was an only child, and my best friend was Will Hammerstein, who lived up the hill, about a 15-minute walk. And I discovered this skateboard thing. Maggie Cohn actually helped me, uh, helped me learn skateboarding, who lived on Righty Street, I think. And so my parents bought me a skateboard in 1976, or like May 76. And I didn't really know many people around me that skated. So I'd skate across at the Rockland Cemetery up alone amongst all the dead people. And that's really how I started. And Will skateboarded a little bit. John Anderson skateboarded a little bit, and he lived up near Will, right in the cottage of the castle. But mainly I'm the one that got addicted, and there was really nobody I knew that was skating. I thought I was the only one around there. And then we heard about these kids in Grandview that skateboarded. The Colwells, the Kinsels, the Bells, all of those families had 3 kids, pretty rowdy kids. And that's how I met other people that had the passion that I had. And it was right at the Grandview Piermont line that we'd skate. It was a great, sidewalk to skateboard at, because the sidewalk had varying degrees of height. And at some points it was like 1.5 feet. So we could test ourselves there and stop traffic.
So just talk a little bit about the run of the Skateboard Wizards and what
Well,
happened with the group?
soon after that, there was a contest at Rock and Country Day School where some of the Nyack kids went to the contest. It was probably the first skateboard contest ever held in Rockland County, and I didn't make it there, but the Nyack guys and the Grandview guys were very friendly, and they both said to each other, "Hey, come to our houses so we can skate." And so Jamal, who was named Kermit at the time, and Joe Humaris, I believe, skated down to Grandview to Jonathan's house because Jonathan described his house, big old house on a hill, and you can't miss it. And we'll probably be playing music in there. And so they went there and knocked on the door, and they were playing music. And so that's how they met. And then the Grandview kids skated down to Nyack, and they started practicing at Memorial Park, and they told me about it. And so we all went down to Memorial Park, and there were this, diverse group of kids, skateboarding, and Jamal Kermit, he was sort of the man. He was the one that we all looked up to because he was so good. And he also had an aura of maturity. And we often called him the father in some ways. And so he was the magnet for us to skate together more often. And then he decided to sort of make a team and call it the Wizards. So that's how it began.
I heard for a period of time you were the chauffeur.
Oh yeah, I was definitely the chauffeur because although I wasn't the oldest, Jonathan was the oldest. His parents must not have given him a license or something. I got a license for some reason. My parents trusted me, and so did all the other parents. And they gave me a car, not gave me a car, but I would use my parents', Malibu fake wood paneling station wagon. And I'd go, actually, the first car was a Plymouth Satellite. It was like a 1975 Plymouth Satellite, gold, huge honking tank, and with dents on the side. And so I'd pick up all the Wizards, and eventually they built a skateboard park in Nanuet, an indoor wooden skateboard park with a suspended pipe, from the ceilings. The reasoning was if you fell, it would absorb your impact more and you wouldn't get as badly injured, but it was a little crazy. And that was called Skate Away skate park. So we were frequenters there, and then Kermit started teaching, and then other Wizards would fill in for him when he couldn't make it. And so he was basically the first professional skateboarder in Rockland County. And he wasn't sponsored or anything. The word pro in skateboarding really technically means that you're sponsored by a skateboard company of sorts. But he made a living as a skateboard teacher there. And it was wonderful. And so that's how I became the chauffeur. And that's how I got my name Slick Charlie, because I was a good driver.
So you mentioned your parents and you mentioned your dad. Do you want to talk a little bit about your father?
Yeah, sure. I mean, just to segue that, my dad didn't want me to get a skateboard because my mom's sister broke her ankle very badly on a skateboard back in the 60s. And so I did my research, and I realized that those skateboards are back in the 60s were so much more dangerous, very slippery steel wheels and clay wheels. And I realized that the urethane wheels had just been invented. And so I did a school report, and I brought it to my dad, and I said, listen, it's different now. I'm not going to injure myself like your sister by law, And so I convinced him. And so they bought me a skateboard. And, my dad, being a journalist, respected research and truth and, writing. So I was not that surprised, but I was psyched. So my dad, that's basically who he was a journalist, and he interviewed a lot of famous people and worked in, the New York City beat for over 5 years, was a Air Force graduate, from Alaska, and a Columbia University quitter. He he couldn't take school. He just couldn't take it. I don't blame him. It wasn't much for formal education either, but, so yeah, he was quite a man. I guess you could call him, he was a controversial creature in Piermont. But I guess one of the things that people don't really know about him, because he tended to complain and out people, was that he was an eternal optimist. He was not a pessimist. He always had faith in the future and what people would do and that things would improve, and in people themselves. So, I'm really proud of him, and he was a anchor for me as a somebody to go to for advice. Although being rebellious, I didn't take his advice that much, but I definitely listened to it.
Yeah, yeah. No, I've always heard him referred to as Mr. Piermont.
Yeah, I've heard that. I don't think he was comfortable with that. But I knew he was an activist, and he got a lot of things done, like there's just a tremendous amount of things, but he was instrumental in closing down the pier to traffic, once in a while on weekends, and I thought that was a great idea. And people were resistant to it, like they always are. They're to change, and then seems like people really like it. So he loved Piermont. I mean, he used to say he used to say, "There's no better place to live on the earth. I'm so close to New York City. I can drive in. I've got, the creek outside my window. I'm really lucky," he'd say. Um, so he really loved, and he loved the people there. And um, I didn't take him for an activist before he moved to Piermont.
Mhm.
He seemed to be busy, bringing me up, and working at Texaco and writing. And once he took off some time to try to write a book that didn't get published, and then he did publish a book after that. But yeah, what can I say? He was pretty involved with Piermont politics.
That's great. That's great. Well, met you actually through him because he told me about I think it was when Virgin Blacktop was coming up.
Oh yeah, he was.
Yeah, he told me I had to get in touch with you and learn about it.
Yeah. Well, I was proud that he was proud of it. And I was pretty surprised how much he loved the film. And
So yeah, why don't you say a few words about that film, Virgin
well,
Blacktop?
it's my opus. If I make 20 films from now until the end of my life, it'll always be my opus, and it's just very dear to my heart because it's a story, as Umberto Brownlee said, the story has got to be told. And I was a visual communicator and a storyteller, so it was up to me. And I found what really kicked it into gear was when I was thinking about making a 24-minute version of the story of the Wizards for my TV show. I had a Manhattan cable access TV show on in Manhattan where I just interview artists and stuff like that, and do anything, barbershops, whatever I found interesting. And I thought it would make a good one of those little episodes, until when I looked for footage of us back in the 70s, which I knew there was some, but I didn't know there was as much as I found. I couldn't believe A, how much there were by 4 or 5 different talented shooters, but B, how incredibly well filmed it was. These Super 8 films. And And so I said, oh my God, this is worth more than just a 24-minute episode that gets cast away on in Manhattan. I've got to make a real film out of this. This is totally serious. And then I buckled down and started interviewing everybody, asking them to do their favorite trick, asking them to pull out, archives of their photos from when they were kids. And that's how it really started. And it started in 94. And then, so it was finished in 2016. And now we're just working on the last bits of the music rights, and it should be out this year on your friendly streaming platform.
Oh, very cool. Well, that's great. So what are some of the final memories of Piermont you'd like to share for this oral history project?
Hmm. Um, uh, I don't know. I think the first memory that I had that I told you was one of my best because it described Piermont so well. And all those bullies that beat me up, I don't regret it. It made me who I am. I I um I like challenges. My dad has taught me not to take no for an answer, and I don't know. I don't really can't think of anything.
Racing down the middle of the road in Piermont,
Well, I know one
flying
thing.
up to both sides.
Here's an even earlier memory. I know I was conceived in Piermont.
There you go.
So, you know, so to all those Piermonters that make fun of me for being a Sparkilian, uh, I'm
You're the
born and
original
bred.
article.
Yeah, I'm the real deal.
There you go. All right, Charlie. So anything projects coming up next you want
Uh,
to? Oh,
let's see. Well, yeah, there's next week I'm going to New York City because they're releasing Element Skateboards is releasing a skateboard deck of a photo I'm really quite proud of a skateboarder sketching. I shot it for Thrasher magazine in 1989, and it shows the World Trade Center in the background. This legendary skateboarder who was basically the most talented skateboarder in New York City, just hanging onto a cab with the World Trade Center in the background, and it's just perfect format for a skateboard, photo skateboard, and that's going to be released next week. So I'm going down there to do a few things, and then a snowboard is going to be released next month with the same photo because it's all in commemorative 20th anniversary of 9/11, and so I'm proud of both of those, and that'll be released in late October through Burton, and I was involved on the design of that, so that was really nice to work on that project.
great. Well, thank you, Charlie, for sharing your memories and for sharing some insights about your father.
Yeah, do we want to show the pictures at all?
Absolutely. Let's do that. So I'm gonna screen share here. I'll go with your dad first. Hold on. Can you see that?
Yep.
Nice and big.
Yeah, that's it.
Tell us what's going on in this photograph.
Well, that's in Piermont. That's at the baseball field where I played baseball. And they were at a party, and I didn't photograph this. This is Patty Lukens, and this is one of the best photographs of Karn and Bob I've seen. They just are having such a blast, and they loved going to these Piermont activities. And so
So they lived together and they left together.
yeah, and this New York Post articles was one of the best the writer was so talented. He just knew how to wrap up a story well. Um, and he was bugging me about like a quote, and I finally called him back and left a quote on a voicemail like a day before he They printed it, and I was really proud.
Do you have the
It was
quote there?
about not taking no for answer for learning from my dad not to take no for an answer. So you can't see it there,
And
but
where are they? That's the pavilion?
Goswick Pavilion. Yep. And so it's the other thing is when my father was very well read, and would read most of the Times the New York Times every day, and other papers, and other all kinds of, he consumed a lot of news. But in December of 2019, when it appeared in China, when COVID appeared, my dad called me. He said, "Charlie, man, if I get this, I'm a goner." And I said, "I know, Dad, I know." And so a few months later, he passed away, and I was trying to get them out of the hospital. They wanted to get the hell out of the hospital, both of them. They were talking to each other. I talked to them every day in the hospital, and I just couldn't swing it. They wouldn't let them out of the hospital. I couldn't find a place for another hospital where they could go and be taken care of. And I didn't really want them to come home, but I tried as hard as I can. And so till the end, we were activists trying to do our own thing, and they were just sick of being in the hospital. And so my dad died about a day after that, because I was waiting. He died on the weekend, and I was hoping that he'd hold out till Monday, and then I might be able to get him out, and Karin too. But then Karin died 3 days later after Bob, and it's sad. There's no doubt about it. I miss him. I miss Karin, and I think they were wonderful together. Just an amazing couple.
Thank you for sharing this with us, Charlie, because I know it's hard, and I know it was a loss that the entire community took. It was hard on all of Piermont, so it must have been that much harder on you.
Yeah, it definitely was hard. I did a lot of crying.
So there was another photo that you shared with me that I'll share
Okay.
with the project, and this is the poster for the film.
Yep. This is not only a good photo for the poster, but I think it's the best photo that describes our team. It's one of the earliest photos taken by the blonde kid's father, Jerry Offen. And I think it describes so much about the diversity and the seriousness that we had for skating. We were very serious about our fun. And also the fact that a helmet is being handed by Michael's mother to him, and how many people have a helmet on. We were so serious about this because we knew the days of skateboarding were numbered. The insurance companies were closing in. Maybe not at this time, but we wanted to do the right thing. We were kind of do-gooders, and we always wore full safety gear when we were in front of the public. Kermit and I decided that we should make the team wear safety gear, because we want to give the impression to the public that we're taking all precautions, and because it had such a bad reputation. It just, everybody thought, anything new, they just thought it was the worst, most dangerous sport ever, when in fact it's not any more dangerous than soccer, basketball, or football. Actually, it's less. So look at, it's just an amazing shot of all this this conglomerate of misfits in some ways, but we weren't misfits. We were serious.
So that's you in the middle?
Yeah, that's me.
So you want to go left to right? Can you see my cursor?
Yeah, sure. So top left is Kermit Taylor, who later changed his name in '94 to Jamal Bey. Then Christopher Kinzel, who became a boat builder. Jonathan Bell, who became a filmmaker, Joe Humaris, who went on to become a professional skateboarder and won nationals at freestyle, which effectively was the best amateur freestylist in the world at the time. And then Michael Offen, who's standing up with his skateboard between his legs, was the youngest of us. And then that's me, Charlie Samuels, truly. And then there's Umberto Brownlee. And missing in this picture, we never got a group shot of all of us. But missing in this picture is, let's see, Ramsey Lewis, who lived in Piermont on Hester Street. And we always joked about trying to skateboard down Hester into the Hudson. And then who else is missing? Oh, Stephen White. And he was the shyest of the group, but he eventually became a public speaker. He just came out of his shell, and he is living in Atlanta now.
And they were all together. I mean, most of them that were able to be there were at the screening I saw at the Nike Center.
Yep. Yeah. Most of them were there. Yeah, it was great. And I think I did get them all together except for one who's not around with us anymore. And you'll see them in the film at the end of the film. So I don't want to give it too much more away.
Thank you. So I'm going to stop screen share and ask you if you have anything else to say, but just before that, thank you very much, Charlie.
You're welcome. Anything for you, Bill, and anything for the Piermont Library, which I went into the Piermont Library. Here's another. I went into the Piermont Library like 12 years ago. I think it was when it moved or right before it moved. Maybe it was 15 years ago or 20 years ago. But anyway, I went there just to look at children's books to see how much reading I did. I swear over half the children's books had my name in the back as having taken it out. And I was so proud of myself, you know.
Right.
And of course, Tom Crippen had taken out every one of them. He was the biggest reader of all. He lived right on the Piermont line in Piermont.
There you go. Well, next time I go in there, I'm going to look for your name.
All right. Please do.
All right.
All right.
All right. So I